Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and I am really excited to share this topic with you, and that is how to coach your client weekly, what to say and do. And I hope that these tips are helpful for you because a lot of health coaches do struggle, especially when they're getting started. You know, what do I say? What do I do? And they just don't have a lot of confidence around that. So I put these bullet points or this PowerPoint together to be able to share this with you. And so when you have a brand new client, a couple of things that you want to remember to do, and that is you want to email them the welcome email for new clients. And you can pull that off of Synduit. Those of you that have been around for a while, like myself, I've been a health coach for 10 years. So I use Synduit, and it's a special thing that our company is using. It's the basic price is $28 a month. But if you're brand new, you don't have to worry about what Synduit is or use it. We've got the same document on this website, Simple System or Systems. You can either do it singular or plural, simplesystemcoaches.com. And when you get into that site, there's going to be a menu on the left, and look for the new or the welcome email for new clients. So you want to send that to your client. It's really, really helpful. It's got a great information. It's got a link to the Optavia guide, to the Quick Start guide. It's got a section about the weekly support calls. It reminds them to take their before picture. It's a really great summary. If you've never seen this before, again, go to simplesystemcoaches.com, or you can text or email me and I can go into my Synduit, send it to you, so you'll see what it looks like coming from Synduit, and then you can forward that on to your new clients. Again, super important with a new client to have them get their before pictures. And not only do you want them to get their before pictures, most of them will take it with their cell phone, but you want that your new client to text you or email those before pictures. And then I store them into a documents folder, which I have labeled TSFL before and afters. And then when your client gets to their goal weight, you can combine the two pictures and send it back to them so they have a reminder of a place they never want to go back to. Those before pictures are super important. Also, if your client eventually becomes a health coach, they're going to want their before and after pictures to inspire other people. The other thing that I do with a new client is I will ask them to friend me on Facebook, or I will friend them on Facebook. Because if they're my Facebook friend, then I can add them to my secret Facebook page, which is our client support page. And that page is called Creating Health. Our business page is called Team Creating Health, but our client page is Creating Health. The other thing is that last week we talked about getting your client started properly once the food arrives, and we get them started using the Optavia guide that comes in their box of food, or the Quick Start guide. But on page 6 of the Optavia guide, you want to have your new client set themselves up for their 30-day texting campaign from the home office. So all they have to do is go into their phone, text to 99000 the words or the word Optavia 30, all capital letters 30, and send it. And the reason we want to do this is because every Wednesday they will get a text message reminding them about our weekly support calls. The weekly support calls are mentioned in this email, but you it's really nice to get a text message reminder as well. So you want to set up your system of coaching. This is something where you want to come from professionalism. You want to come from organization. It's something that comes easily for me because I owned and operated a multi-million-dollar cancer center with other physicians. And so we had to be super organized. But for some people who've maybe never owned their own business, this may be a little bit of a, learning curve. So what I personally do is I do all of my coaching calls on Mondays. And this is my full-time gig now. I don't, practice medicine anymore. So if you're part-time, you still have another job or another career and you're doing this very part-time, then your hours may not be during the day like mine are. They may be Saturday morning, or they may be Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday evening or whatever. But you want to have a set time so that your clients know when they're going to be contacted. So mine happen to be Mondays from 10 a.m. till about 7 p.m. I have a lot of clients. And so, I'm doing other stuff as well on that day. But really, I'm pretty, buckled down with health coaching on Monday. It's a pretty full day for me. And the way that I do it with my clients is I tell them, John, I want you to text me every Monday morning your morning weight. Don't weigh in the afternoon, don't weigh in the evening, because those weights are going to be heavier. But text me your Monday morning weight. And then I'm going to call you sometime on Monday. So that's how I like to do it. So my phone starts buzzing about, 5 a.m. with people. So I have it on silent because I don't get up quite that early anymore. And then I have all of my clients' trackers in a 3-ring notebook with alphabet tabs. So I have a separate notebook for active clients, and I have a separate notebook for inactive clients. Because a lot of times those inactive clients will come back to you. It might be 3 months later, 6 months later, 3 years later, and they're calling you again. You know what? I want to get started back on your program. And then what I do when I'm doing my calls, I begin with the first person who texted me. So Mary Jane texted me at 5 a.m. and I'm back from my exercise class on Monday morning. So Mary Jane's going to be the first person that I call. And once I get through all the people that texted me with their weight, then I just go through my notebook and I page through the pages. So 1 week I start at the front of the alphabet. The next week I start at the back of the alphabet. And then for people that are inactive, I'll check in with them periodically, maybe once a month or once a quarter. Same for those who are in maintenance. You're not calling them every week unless they're newly in maintenance and you're really helping them move forward. Now, one thing that I hear from a lot of health coaches is, well, my clients work, so I can only call them, between 6 and 11 p.m. Well, interestingly enough, of all the people on this call, I probably have the most clients, and most of mine work also. But it's interesting that I do almost all of my calls during the day. So I've got a few people that can only talk in the evening, but I'm going to say 95% of them can talk during the day. So I will say when I am getting them started, Justin, can you talk during the day? And Justin may say, sure, I can talk during the day, or I can talk during my lunchtime, or I can take a break. So you'll be surprised how many people are available during their work hours. And then most of the people that I'm calling during the day, I will text them first. Now, they've texted me their weight. Maybe they haven't because they've forgotten, or they just never did get into that habit. So I'll text them first and I'll say, can you talk now? And then they'll text me back, I'm in a meeting right now, but I can talk at 2 o'clock. So what I do is I set the alarm on my phone because I'm doing a lot of calls on Monday. So I don't want that 2 o'clock to get away from me. And now it's 5 o'clock and darn, I forgot to call when they were expecting me. So what do I say when I call? Hi, John, this is Dee. Is this a good time to talk? What are we celebrating today? So John says, oh my gosh, I lost 2 pounds this week. And I always say, what did the scale say? Because I don't want people to tell me how much they lost. I want people to tell me what the number on the scale was. I've got a tracker for them, and I record the date and their weight every week, but they may not remember. They think they lost 2 pounds, but they've got a busy, crazy life, and this is my business, so I'm keeping track of their weight. So I'll say, well, what did the scale say? Oh my gosh, John, you're actually down another 4 pounds. You're 12 pounds total. So I keep a running tally. So I'll write down their weight, and then in parentheses, I put how much weight, to date. So I keep a running tally there. So, oh my gosh, that's great, John. Your next goal is to get into the 220s. So I do it 10 pounds at a time. So it's not overwhelming to the person I'm coaching. So maybe, somebody starts at 280 and I'm telling them their first goal is, let's get you into the 270s. Now they're in the 270s. Your next goal is, let's work on the 260s. Now you're in the 260. Because if they're trying to get from 280 to their optimal weight of 130, oh my gosh, that's like this gigantic chiasm. And it's hard to wrap your brain around that many pounds. But you can do 10 pounds at a time. So how do you feel, John, with your first 12 pounds off? Are you hungry? Because if they're hungry, then we probably have to fine tune a little bit. It means that maybe they've come out of fat burn. Do you have more energy? Any questions? Do you have any events coming up? A birthday, a vacation? They'll tell you what's coming up, because you can help them through what's coming up. Okay, you're going to the wedding reception. Let's talk about that. Make sure you have a fueling before you go, and stick a couple of bars in your, sports jacket or in your purse in case you're there longer than you expected. And, maybe the cake comes around and you shouldn't be eating cake. You can reach in and get a bar or something. And when you're at the buffet table, look for the vegetables, have the protein. So I help them, get through the event that's coming up. And also, John, don't forget about the support calls on Wednesdays. You're going to get a text from the home office. You remember that weekly text that we set you up with? And that'll have a link. Listen, have a great week. I'll talk to you next Monday. Remember, the calls should be no more than about 2 to 5 minutes. Every once in a while you'll have a longer call. Somebody's got an issue or they're a little chatty, but you don't want to be on 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Sometimes I hear of coaches they're on with an hour. That is doing yourself a big disservice. And that person that you're talking to for too long may have been interested in health coaching, but they think, oh my God, I could never be talking for 30 minutes, but I could do 2 to 5 minutes. So again, be mindful of your phone time, because it's not a call to find out, about the Super Bowl and whether they were a Falcons fan or the Patriots. That's not the purpose of the call. The purpose of the call is, what did the scale say? And being brief and concise. So if they went to see the doctor, ask about how their visit went. Was he able to reduce your blood pressure medicine? How were your blood sugars? What was your cholesterol level? Oh my gosh, you dropped from 300 to 160, that's amazing. If their clothes are falling off and they're telling you that, what size were you before the program? You were 36 pants and now you're a 32. Wow, that's amazing. Because you want to make a big deal about their progress. It's like raising a child and they come home with their report card and I'll have to say my mom would say, oh yeah, you always get straight A's. But what I was looking for from my mom was to say, oh my gosh, look at this. You've got these wonderful grades. She never said that. So people are looking for, to be acknowledged and be praised because they've struggled with weight most of their life, or maybe not most of their life, but they've struggled with weight, during a certain period of time, and you're here to help them. Anything else, John, you'd like to share? Or maybe Susan. I wore a bathing suit for the first time in 10 years. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I haven't weighed this since high school. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Again, make a big deal when you're talking to your people. So let's say you call Roxanne and can you talk now? What are we celebrating? And Roxanne says the opposite. I gained 3 pounds. What did the scale say? Yes, indeed, Roxanne gained 3 pounds. And she goes on to say, this is too hard. I can't do it. I'm missing all of my favorite foods. Well, what happened, Roxanne? Tell me about that. Well, I had wine and I had pizza. I just couldn't stay away from that. And then you help her through that. Next time, honey, could maybe you choose a different restaurant than the pizza restaurant that only serves pizza? Maybe could you ask your husband to, help you by choosing, by bringing home better, something healthier. So you're helping them through these hard times. How did you feel, Roxanne, when you had that pizza? I felt like a failure. I know I can't do this. Sure you can. Sure you can. You're not going to be perfect. And Roxanne, remember when we first talked, you said you wanted to be a role model for your kids and you wanted to reverse your diabetes. Is that still your goal? And she says, yes. Well, then stop beating yourself up, hon. You had a bad week. Let's pick yourselves back up and just move forward. You're not going to be perfect. So again, that's kind of the flavor of what health coaching sounds like. It's never a script. You've got to develop kind of a sixth sense as you're helping people, kind of like raising those kids. So if somebody falls off the wagon or maybe they're struggling a little bit, I'll say, you know what, reread the Optavia guide or reread the Quick Start guide, whichever one they happen to have. And then I'll go through some bullet points. Make sure and eat your first fueling in the first hour of getting up. Are you doing that? Don't go longer than 3 hours between your fuelings. Be mindful of your lean and green. Go back to those pages in your Optavia guide where it goes over the portion sizes. Maybe it would be helpful to buy a food scale to weigh your protein. Are you journaling? Remember that Optavia guide has 30 days of journaling in there. Are you drinking enough water? I know you're struggling right now. Why don't, I would suggest reading chapter 3 of Dr. A's Habits of Health book. It's a chapter on mindset. So again, you're helping them wherever they happen to be. But remember, health coaching is all about love, support, and guidance. It's never about beating anybody up, criticizing them, or judging them. People need to be listened to, and we need to simply help them get back on the wagon if they've fallen off. We need to praise them and acknowledge them and make them feel good if they've had a good week. And I oftentimes will say, with those that are struggling, stop beating yourself up. Let's just get you back on program. Reread that Optavia guide. You know what, Suzanne, you're not the only one struggling. Put it out there on the Facebook Creating Health page, and you'll find that other clients will come out of the woodwork and give you tips and help support you along with myself. With Dr. A's Habits of Health book, I encourage them to begin reading it, one chapter at a time, maybe a chapter a day or a chapter every other day or whatever. But I also will direct them to the right chapter depending on if they have a specific issue or they have a specific question. Like, for instance, if they're struggling with sleep, that's my cat trying to get in. If they're struggling with sleep, I'll tell them, read chapter 17. I don't have the chapters memorized, believe me, but I have Dr. A's Habits of Health book on my desk. This is my home office that I'm sitting in. So I'll page through. Okay, chapter 17 is the chapter on sleep. Read that. I think you'll find it really helpful. You're having a flare-up of your arthritis, because in people that are really heavy, they've got a lot of inflammation going on. Read chapter 19. You'll have a better understanding of how getting that weight off can really make a difference. You're struggling with staying on program, chapters 3 and 4 on motivation. Now they're at their goal weight or they're close to, chapters 8 through 12, transition and maintenance. Exercise, chapters 14 through 16. They're in transition and maintenance, and they want to come off of some of our fuelings and eat, regular food. 100-calorie healthy snacks on pages 120 and 121. If the scale isn't moving, they say they're doing everything perfectly, which usually means they're not, but you can't, but you can review, are you doing this, and that? But if the scale isn't moving, they may still be losing inches. Let's say the last 2 weeks, your client has lost, 5 pounds, and then they lost 4 pounds, and then they lost 2 pounds, and now they're kind of plateaued for a week or two. That just means their body's making adjustments. They've lost a lot of weight in those last 3 weeks, so their body can't keep losing 5 pounds a week. So they're still losing inches, and I remind them of that if they're doing the program as it's spelled out. And John, it may take a week or another, or two before you start seeing the scale move again. Don't worry about that. Are you drinking enough water? If they're into diet soda or diet drinks, remind them to limit that to one to two diet drinks daily, because their liver and pancreas can see diet drinks as regular sugar. They might want to change up their lean and green meal. Instead of doing it at 7 p.m., maybe doing it in the middle of the afternoon or for lunch, or occasionally doing it for brunch or breakfast. Making sure they're measuring out their portions and weighing their protein. Reviewing their condiments. I have a client, and their optional snack. I have a client from Florida who's an attorney, and I talked to him about an optional snack. Well, he was having like 3 or 4 optional snacks a day instead of just one. So that got the scale moving again. Maybe it's time to add exercise. They've been on the program for 3 or 4 weeks. Now it's time to, get that brisk walk in 30 minutes a day, or swimming or riding their bike. They can also look at the calorie burn infusers that are one of our products to boost their metabolism. Now, what about the person who never answers the phone? First of all, when I start a client, I try to remember to ask them, I prefer to call you once a week, but how would you like to communicate? I do have some young clients that text, and I'm a texter too, but when you're coaching, the phone is always better than texting. A voice call is always better than texting, but I do have some young clients that they will never pick up the phone. And so you've got to, meet them where they are and adjust. But what I do is I will call first and I'll leave a voicemail. Hi, Vicki, this is Dee. sorry I missed you. Hope you had a great weekend. If you can't chat this week, at least text me your weight and we'll connect next week. I'm not going to keep calling Vicki, 5 times on Monday and then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No, 1 call a week. That will make your life easier, and she won't think you're a crazy person by calling her, multiple times. And your voicemail tells it all. If you can't chat, at least text me. We'll connect next week. And then I'll say something that gives them, some tip. Don't forget the support calls on Wednesday. You can find those in the initial email that I sent you back in, mid-January. But also those weekly text messages that you're set up for on your phone. And then I also post a reminder about the calls, the support calls on my Facebook page that you're a part of. And then once I leave a voicemail, I'll always text the person as well. And I'll say, I just left you a voicemail. Because a lot of people, voicemails are like emails. They never read them. They never listen to them. So what about when they're going on the cruise or they're going on vacation? And so I'll ask, what would you like to do while you're on vacation? Do you want to continue on program, or would you like to try to simply maintain? And I totally get it. If they've paid for an expensive cruise, there's healthy food on a cruise. I've been on a cruise myself, years ago, and there's great food there. But there's also the giant buffets that you can, eat a million calories at the end of the day. So I'll give that person some tips. So we ask if they want to continue to lose or simply maintain. If they want to, modify, I'll recommend maybe a 4 and 2, 4 fuelings, 2 lean and greens, or a 3 and 3, 3 fuelings, 3 lean and greens. But sometimes they want to come off program during that time away. It's their program. We can advise them of something, but ultimately it's their decision. So I'll say, if you're coming off program, make sure your 3 meals a day are lean and green meals, plus have 3 healthy snacks in between. So if you don't want to take the fuelings with you, pages 120 and 121 in Dr. A's Habits of Health book have 100-calorie snacks that you can use in lieu of the fuelings, and they're not the Nabisco cookies. So they can look through that. And then I'll say, have fun, but make sure you're mindful of your choices, of your portion sizes. And then when you get back, you can jump right back on the program. So you want them to feel good about their vacation and not be on their vacation feeling anxious or arguing with their spouse and, that kind of thing. There's no sense to that. So if they've decided to do a 4 and 2 or a 3 and 3 while they're on vacation, you can have them read chapter 10, Dr. A's Habits of Health, so they can get ideas of sample meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they're already used to eating lean and green. So, I think they're smart enough to figure it out. You might just have to remind them. They can use the fuelings for their snacks or, eat the fuelings on pages 120, 121. Also, a word about alcohol, because a lot of times, the alcohol can really pack in those calories. So I'll tell them, if you're going to drink, if you feel like you absolutely have to have alcohol while you're on vacation, I probably would too, then I suggest a low-calorie, low-carb beer, or a vodka straight up, or a vodka and sparkling water, because these are going to be lower in calories. I remind them to drink a lot of water, to exercise daily. They're on vacation. They're not going to work. So take your walk, rent the bike, swim in the pool, do the aerobics that they have on the resorts and so forth. I also tell them, if you're on the cruise, eat in the sit-down restaurants and order from the menu. Don't go to the buffets because you'll eat way too much. Do your best, and then when you come back, we'll jump back on. So no big deal. And again, have fun. So our role as a health coach is to love, guide, and support our clients, never to judge, criticize, or beat them up. It's their program. It's their money. And we just need to be patient with them. I do have some people that really, really struggle, but they're, I just love them each week and help them, do their best and meet them where they are. Ask for referrals from the people that are doing well, because if they have a buddy or they've got, some coworkers or family members doing the program with them, it may be easier for them to stay on task. Check in with them by phone, and let's see, my cat is right in front of me. So let's see. Sorry. Check in with them by phone. Text or email is second best. Although if I leave a voicemail, like I said, I text them and let them know that I left a voicemail, or I left a voicemail. Be their friend and meet them where they are. So I'm just kind of wrapping it up here. Health coaching is all about developing your own style. Some people are introverts. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. Some people are extroverts. You're going to develop your own style that you're comfortable with. You want to have fun as a health coach. Make your own hours. That's what this is all about. Never get into this thing where people can call you 24/7. That's not developing a business where you're, being able to enjoy your life and so forth. It's not okay for people to call you at midnight when they're at the grocery store and you're in bed. So that's why I like to set parameters. But I do say, what, if you've got a question or you're struggling, or we're trying to get you acclimated, please know that you can text me and I will call you back at my earliest convenience. My earliest convenience may be the next day, not when I'm out with family or friends on a Saturday night, or, watching, I'm at a concert or whatever. And so you want to, have people be respectful of your time, because you respect your time. Love your clients, become a great health coach, and know in your heart and in your soul that you're saving people's lives. I mean, I know that without a doubt, that I'm adding value, I'm adding health, and I'm adding longevity to people's lives. So I'm very, very proud of what I do.